Welcome to the Excel Pod. Welcome to the UNTIED podcast, where we unravel the knots of life with faith, wisdom, and encouragement, because together we're here to untie from tradition and embrace truth through powerful Bible teaching. We're grateful that you have joined us today for another episode of the UNTIED podcast. We have taken a short break over last week, as we said that we were going to, because I was at camp last week, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit. But we're grateful to be back with you this week to continue on in our series over the Sermon on the Mount. And today we are going to finish out chapter 6 of Matthew in the sermon that Jesus preached, mainly in verses 25 through 34. And if we're able to, we may go into chapter 7 and look at judging. But worry, it looks like it's probably going to be worry or anxiety going to be the main topic for today as we consider Jesus' thoughts that he is sharing. This is a big subject, and we certainly want to give it the time that it deserves, because we know that this is something that affects everybody. It affects us, it affects you, and hopefully we'll be able to share some things and insights and consider the text with you, so that we can all grow together, so that we're not ruled by the anxiety or the worry, but allow our faith to lead us in every day. So we're grateful that you have joined us today. And as always, we hope that if you are enjoying these episodes, that you will head over to the Excel Pod Network and check out all of the other podcasts on the Excel Pod Network, but also that you would like, share, follow, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform that you are viewing us from. And so that really helps the podcast, it helps the network, and helps this to continue to grow. So we're grateful to be back, and as always, we'll get this thing started with what's been cooking. So Corey, what's been going on, man?
Well, as you can tell from my voice, probably, I'm dealing with a summer cold. So no one's allowed me in the kitchen to cook or anything. I've just been eating chicken noodle soup and, You know, that's not bad, eating chicken noodle soup. The sickness is terrible, but a good chicken noodle soup is really nice. Yeah. Well, it may not. I'm eating from the can, so.
Never mind.
It may not be the.
Getting the old
best
Campbell's
or the best
out
for you. Yeah. May not be the best or the best for you, but it's something at least. So
it's something. Yeah. Well, hopefully you're getting, I know we've been talking about this, but you're on the downhill slope, getting past this, getting over it. Being sick is never any fun at all.
No, today was the first day it's felt like it's kind of breaking up a little bit. So
yeah,
if I suddenly disappear from the screen, it's because I have gone to blow my nose or I'm coughing up a lung or something. So
well, we'll take care of that on this end.
I'm really worried that that's going to happen today.
Well,
and I'm worried we're not going to get through the whole text. There's so much of it.
Well, if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. Whatever we don't get to, we will come back and finish it out next episode. So
I was camp. Tell us about
we'll
camp.
Work that out.
Tell us about camp.
Well, camp was great. We were at the Louisville Church of Christ, and we had 38 campers this year. This was preacher training camp.
Awesome.
Had a great group, ages 14 to 19 or so, and man, it just went really good. We had a lot of fun. Had Furman Carpenter was with us as our keynote. I did a lesson on Monday, and we talked about using our gifts And then we had Steve Miner that came in, and he talked about ministering to your family. And then Kevin Langford finished us off with building your ministry and had a lot of great things to say about that. Philip Johnson was our hermeneutics instructor this year, and we did something that was pretty cool. The boys each had their own individual sermons to prepare, obviously, throughout the week. But in the hermeneutics part of it, they were put together in teams, and they had to build a group sermon where each person had one part of the sermon, and everything they had to work together, and every part of the sermon had to go together. And so us as staff were assigned to each group, obviously, and of course we had them for the group sermon and their individuals, but helped them to formulate that sermon, and it worked really, really well. And I thought that was a really, really good idea, and I'm glad that he did that. And we had some really great lessons that came out of that. So anyway, their individual sermons were out of the book or the Gospel of John, and the group sermons were over the parables. And so that was a pretty cool thing that they did. So we had a lot of fun. We went and saw Young Washington. If you have not seen Young Washington, that's a pretty good movie. There's a lot of great quotes in that movie. So my wife wants to watch it. I may actually go watch it again. But really, really good. That was a lot of fun. We went to Andretti's and raced go-karts, and, of course, played a lot of games. Went to Main Event and bowled and played a lot of games. And went down to, there's a barbecue restaurant down there in that area called Marty B's. And Marty B's is fantastic. Really good. I had a brisket bowl that had four strips of brisket on top. It was, the bottom of it was filled with rice. There was queso. There was smoked corn. Just all kinds of stuff in this thing. Beans. Oh man, it was fantastic. And really, really good stuff. We ate out. They have a big patio out there, huge TVs. So we ate there. Really cool place. Then we ate at Rosa's, which is also, I think it's up in the Colony, which is just north of Louisville. Mexican restaurant. Man, it is really good too. So we and there were several ladies that were there all week, and man, I tell you what, they fed us and fed us and fed us. It was just, if anybody went hungry, it was their own fault, and every bit of that food was fantastic. So really great week. All the boys, three of my boys were there. Of course, my oldest used to go there, and of course, he's graduated from college now, but they all had a good time, had really good lessons. So great week, and was very encouraged and excited about next year.
I'm thinking I'm looking at the menu from the Marty B's. I'm thinking we should record a live episode there. Fried tamale cakes.
I am all about that.
Fried tamale cakes.
They've got all kinds of stuff. And of course, you can't go anywhere. If they serve poppers, you got to get a popper. And their jalapeno poppers are really good. They've got some sauce on them that's really good.
They got stuffed poblanos too, and I love poblano peppers.
Yeah, me too. I've had their tacos. I've had the brisket bowl. We've only been there just a few times, so their fajitas. A lot of people get their fajitas. It's a big serving. That when you order something there, you get a lot of food, and that's always a big plus in my book.
Yeah. There's a I don't know if you know this or not, but if you ever go to Disney World, there is a Mexican restaurant at Epcot that
in the pyramid.
In the pyramid,
yep, we've been there.
If you go to any of the restaurants, at least this is the way that it used to be. It may not be that way anymore. I don't know, but It's been a while since we've been, but used to, if you ate something that you liked, you could ask them for the recipe. They'd take your email address and they would email you that recipe. And I forget what it was called now. The first time we ate there, Melody ordered something, and I ordered this something, this chicken poblano pepper dish. She's trying to talk through the door like I can hear her. Now, we're trying to think of the name of the dish, not the... Anyway, this is why you lock your door before you start recording your podcast. But anyway, they bring the food out, and it was larping. And Melody's, I'm like, how's yours? And she said, it's okay. Yours looks really good. So you know what happened. About a third of the way into our supper, we swapped plates. But we got them to send us that recipe, and I've made it several times. And it's rice and chicken and poblano peppers and this cheesy sour cream sauce that goes on. It's really, really good. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, that is a really good place to eat.
Yes.
At Epcot. Really good.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
Yeah. We have eaten.
You feel like you're in the culture there, you know.
Yeah. Did you do the boat ride when you were in there?
We did the boat ride. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Three Caballeros. That's pretty cool. The first time we were there, we did the boat ride. The second time we were there, the boat ride was actually closed. They were redoing whatever, but we've eaten at a few places in that, well, two main places, and then we tried out several things of food, but
she was saying it was Bulma's, but I'm pretty sure that's the African restaurant in the Animal Kingdom Lodge. I want to think it was San something. It's not San Marcos. That's what's coming in my head, but yeah, that's where my daughter-in-law's from. But it's San something, or I don't know. Anyway, it's in the pyramid. But you're right. You can take the boat ride. It feels like you're there the evening. In Mexico, and it's good.
They're all singing to you. Yeah, that's a cool place. Yeah. They have, of course, they've got the that section over there where you can eat food from all over the world,
right?
Which is pretty neat, and some of it I really don't like. Just throwing that out there, but some of it is really good, really good.
The Italian restaurant is really good over there.
But there's a Chinese restaurant that's not too bad.
Yeah, Melody's not big on Oriental food, so we don't usually hit those. But we were going to eat one night at the Japanese restaurant, you know, where they I don't know
cook in front of you and all that.
Yeah, and we got seated at our big thing. The boys were real little, and there was another family that came in, and they were not having a good day, and Dad had been partaking of beverages that he shouldn't have been, I think, and he was cussing up a storm. And anyway, we hadn't even started our dining experience yet, but I asked the waitress, I said, can we leave and it not count against us? And she said, yep. So we did. So we didn't actually eat at the Japanese restaurant. But
yeah, we ate there. It's pretty good. They don't do fried rice.
Really?
It's all white rice.
Huh.
It's a tragedy.
The fish and chips at England are good.
I've had the fish and chips, yeah. And I also had, kind of right in the middle of the park, there's an area where there's a few places you just stand in line, you know, and you order and you get it right there. They had some new stuff. My daughter-in-law's sister, she's she's a travel agent for Disney, and so she tries all the food, and it was a soft shell crab dish. I can't remember. It was on top of something. I can't remember if it was a taco type of deal or not. But anyway, you got some soft shell crab in there, and man, it was pretty good. So
yeah,
those were some new items she was telling us about. So we all went over and checked it out. But
yeah, I'm at that age where I still like the rides, but I'm more excited about the restaurants than the rides these days.
I'm not there
you
yet.
know.
I mean, I definitely love the restaurants, but I love the rides.
I like the rides.
Me and my
But,
wife we can ride all
you
day
know,
long.
there's a point in your life where like the rides are really important and the food not so much. And then over time, we're kind of right here where they're kind of evened out. I enjoy the rides about as much as I do the restaurants. And then I know it keeps going, the opposite to where you just don't care about the rides at all. But
Yeah. What a sad day.
I know.
No, I know that it'll get that way, but the one thing that I will say about their rides. Now, if you're I know people are, some like Disney, some don't like Disney. We're not pushing anything either way. But I will say this, that the rides at Disney are very different than like Six Flags. Six Flags is about speed. It's about all the loops. It's about the barrel rolls. That's what it is. Fast and furious. The Superman shoots you up. Batman, you're like flying under it. And I love those rides. But when you go to Disney and you ride those rides, it's different. You can be going the same speed and won't even know it. And it's like putting you into a world. And they're very smooth. And so the first time we went there, me and my wife are just, like I said, we both love to ride rides. And we were just like in awe of the things that they had integrated into these roller coasters and all that kind of stuff. We'd never seen anything like that. And so that was a pretty cool experience. But I will tell you,
the shows.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, the first time we went, I'd always wanted to ride Pirates of the Caribbean. And that was the first ride. I was like, that's where we're going, and I want to hear it. I'll do it by myself. I don't care, but that's what we're riding first. And we did. And so that was pretty cool. Not the greatest ride there, but it's just really cool. A really cool deal to go through. So,
yeah. Of course, my favorite theme park is found right here in Tennessee.
Dollywood.
It's America's favorite theme park. There's a lady in Kentucky. She's a wife of an elder that one time told me, and I thought it was really funny. She said, when I think of Dollywood, I think that's the way heaven's going to be. It's perfectly clean, and there's gospel music coming out of the rocks and the bushes, So that's kind of Dollywood, and it has great rides and great food, and then the Smoky Mountains in the background, and
We have not been there. We've been right by it, been right up to it, but not actually been in there. But we have been to Branson, of course.
Yes.
And we have been in that theme park that has just escaped my mind. I'll think of it. But theme park that's up there, and I don't know. I wonder if it's pretty close to the same type of thing. But they have a huge cave that you can go into, and Silver Dollar City. That's what it is. That's a really good one. Really good one. They have a lot of really cool rides.
That's what Dollywood used to be before Dolly took it over.
Before it got Dolly.
Yeah. And, of course, she's expanded it like 10 times, tenfold of what it was. But it's a lot more of the big rides, less of the, like, craftsman stuff that, Silver Dollar City had. And Dollywood used to have more of that at first. But a lot of that has been slowly replaced over time. But
right. Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, it's pretty hot right now, so I don't know how packed all the theme parks are. I'm sure they're doing pretty good, but when it's a little bit cooler, it's a lot more fun. Standing in those lines isn't any fun at all. But,
that's right.
But anyway, so those are all good, and just a lot of fun. So good family memories built at those places, I think. So
Absolutely.
well, I guess we probably ought to get into our study here, our thoughts in Matthew chapter 6. And again, we're in verses 25 through the end of chapter 6, so down to verse 34. And we're primarily going to be talking about worry or anxiety. Depending on what translation you have, you'll have one or the other, or maybe you have something different. But that's what we're going to be discussing. And again, we have been looking at the areas of righteousness. Don't forget that our key text, really the thesis, is that back in Matthew chapter 5, verse 20, I say to you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And so there was a lot that Jesus dealt with there, and we have been looking at the areas of righteousness, alms, prayer, and last episode, a couple of weeks ago, we looked at fasting and money. And we looked at, as we ended the last episode, that Corey actually brought this out, the big contrast from verse 19 down to verse 24. 19 and 20, you have the contrast of heaven and earth. 22 and 23, you have the contrast of light and darkness. And then in verse 24, you have that contrast of God and wealth or money, and which seems to be kind of the nemesis, if you will, there, and not necessarily Satan in that, or the devil in that context. So that's a big thing to think about, and probably this is probably not any coincidence that he talks about money and then goes into worry, because a lot of people worry about money and the results of money and everything that comes along with making it, with holding on to it, with saving it. I mean, you name it, we've got all kinds of things that we can worry about with this one subject of anxiety, worry. And money probably has to do a lot with that, amongst many other things. So, Corey, how do you want to start this? We just want to read through the text first and then start to break it down, or do you want to do a few more introductory thoughts to this?
No, well, one thing I will say, going off of what you just said, the ESV says therefore, the New American Standard I think says for this reason.
Yes.
So I don't think it is a coincidence that he goes from money to worry, because he tells you, therefore, whichever time you say therefore, you got to think about what was written before this. So therefore, don't worry. Don't be anxious. That's the idea that he's building off of, is he's just got through talking about you're either going to serve God or stuff. So what should the conclusion of that be? Well, the next area of righteousness, don't worry, because the opposite of worry, talking about the contrast there, the opposite of worry is going to be have faith in God. So it's all built on top of each other.
Right. And that's, like we pointed out at the very end of last episode, those contrasts are so meaningful, and they're really pointing out some things. Jesus is basically saying, you really need to think about this. We've talked about before, Paul says in Colossians 3:15 through 17, basically who is going to be sitting in that chair in your heart? Who's going to rule your heart? Who's going to be the king? Well, in this sense, is it going to be money, or is it going to be God? Is it going to be light, or is it going to be dark? Is it going to be, worry, or is it going to be faith? So these contrasts are really thought-provoking for us to consider in our life, because it's so easy for us to give into these other things and essentially do what Paul was forced not to do in 2 Corinthians 1, which was rely on himself. We've talked about what 2 Corinthians 1, like 8 through 10, connects back to 1 Corinthians 15, 32, 33, somewhere around there. And Paul says that he was forced to not rely on himself, but to rely on God. Now, the reason why is of course different, as he was dealing with some things going on in Asia. But here it really is the same thing. We're all going through some stuff, and we have a tendency to rely on ourselves and I'm going to get myself through this, or I'm not going to do anything and worry myself to death, where it just causes all kinds of problems for me mentally, physically. I mean, this can really be a big deal for us if we let it overtake us. So no doubt a huge section for a great reason to help us to move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this, and then I'll turn it over to you, Corey, to kind of get us rolling with this. Starting in verse 25, for this reason I say to you, do not be worried about your life as to what you will eat or what you will drink, nor for your body as to what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, and that they do not sow, nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they? And who of you, by being worried, can add a single hour to his life? And why are you worried about clothing? Observe how the lilies of the field grow. They do not toil, nor do they spin. Yet I say to you that not even Solomon in all of his glory clothed himself like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? Do not worry then, saying, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear for clothing? For the Gentiles eagerly seek all these things, for your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So Corey, where do we want to start with this as we get into our text?
Well, first of all, there's the concept of this word that's translated anxious or worried or whatever. It's one of those words, and my favorite place to contrast this, because it's in the same book, is over in the book of Philippians. There's a lot of places that you see this word used in positive and negative connotations, but if you will turn your Bible over to Philippians 2:20, it's one of those occasions where it seems like it is an acceptable thing. He talks about I'm concerned for your welfare or something of that nature. You get it pulled up there now. He's talking about Timothy as an example of putting others before self. And he says that Timothy is one, I know of no one really like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. Well, it's the same word that's translated anxious or worry over in Matthew. And then if you flip over a page, if you're in a real Bible, Philippians 4, scroll on down in yours, in Philippians 4 and verse 6, as he's kind of wrapping everything up, he says, be anxious for nothing. Well, it's the same exact word. In Philippians 2, he says it's a good thing that Timothy's coming, because Timothy is a guy that is so concerned about other people. And then 2 chapters later, he's saying, don't be concerned about anything, So we don't see that necessarily in our English translations, because they're trying to help us see the wide array that this word can be translated. And again, there's lots of places in the New Testament it's used in good and negative ways. The way that I've always exposed, a couple of years ago when our oldest son Garrett was at Bear Valley as a student, he came home for his first summer, and his Jeep Cherokee were out in the dry. This is literally about 2 weeks before he's going back to Denver in the fall for his second year of studies. And we're out in the driveway out by his vehicle, and I notice his tires are as slick as glass. I mean, I've got old flip-flops that had more tread on it than his tires did. And I'm like, dude, you need to put some tires on your vehicle. And he said, yeah, I've been saving up for it. I'm hoping I can buy some before winter weather gets here. And well, in Denver, that's liable to be October when winter weather gets there,
Right.
And I said, you don't need to be hitting the interstate for a 1,100-mile trip on tires that look like that. Well, I was worried, concerned, anxious, whatever word you want to use, about his tires. But what I did was I said, how much money do you have? And it was a little bit. And I said, all right, you go over to B. Wright's, who B. Wright is a guy that in Greenfield owns a tire shop down there, and get B. Wright to put new tires on your vehicle, and I'll pay for whatever you don't have. And so we did, and then we sent him on his way, and he pulls out of the driveway. Now, is there still a possibility that he could run over now and have a flat tire or something happen? Of course it is. But if I worry at that point, that's sinful worry. I was concerned, anxious, worried, whatever you want to say, about his situation with his tires. I did what I could, and then I pray with him before he leaves, and I trust in God to take care of him. And that's, I think, the first thing, the old song from back in the 80s, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Mm-hmm. Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note, don't worry. Be happy. Well, it's not that you can't just say, don't worry. It's training your mind. But, there's some things that we ought to be concerned about. But you do what you can do about it, and then you trust in God or put your faith in God, and that's what he's going to say later on in this text. Oh, you have little faith. You do what you can with the things that you're concerned about, and then once you've done what you can, if you continue to worry about it, that's sinful worry. So what we've got to do is follow 1 Peter 5:7. We pray about it, we cast our cares on God, and then we don't worry about things that we don't have any control over. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think that's something for us to consider, because in many ways we I think this is one of those subjects that can be very confusing, and we take one side or the other. Well, it's okay to worry, or it's not okay to worry. Well, if you're worrying about this, then you're sinning. That's not necessarily the case, and I think you pointed that out very practically, that there are things that we should not worry about, and there are things that we should worry about. And so there is a righteous kind of worry, and there's a worry that is completely unhealthy for us. I believe that there were things that Jesus was worried about. And I think that Gethsemane especially is a demonstration of that worry. He experienced a lot of anxiety because of what he was about to do. And of course, that proves his humanity even more, that he was worried about what was coming. Well, there are things in life that are coming for us that we might be worried about. You may have a major surgery that's coming up you're worried about. You may have a cancer treatment or something, some type of, illness that you're being treated for that's coming up that you're worried about. Those are natural things. There is a natural tendency for us to be concerned or worry about something that's coming up in our life. I think that that's okay, but it's what we do with that worry that really matters. So when we see Jesus experiencing anxiety or worry, what does he do about it? Well, he prays about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a huge, notice, I love the, the subheading here, probably not inspired, but the subheading is the cure for anxiety. It's not just anxiety. And I'm so glad that they wrote it that way. And I don't know what it is in anyone else's. I know some Bibles have different things, but the cure for anxiety. What is the cure? Well, that's what Jesus is trying to get to. There is a cure for this worry that you have, and there's some areas that you can have this, and some areas that you shouldn't have it. But above all, no matter what type of worry you have or whatever it's over, it's what you do with it that actually matters. And so, like you said in verse 25, for this reason. So he contrasted all these different things. Are you going to be about heaven, or are you going to be about earth? So you have a spiritual and physical type of contrast there. You have light and dark. Well, light is God's path. Dark is everything away from that. God cannot be where darkness is. So you have either the presence of God or the absence of God that's in your that you're focusing on. Then you have God or money. Well, am I going to put all my faith in God, or am I going to put all my faith in money? Well, anybody who puts all their faith in money is normally let down. But when we put our faith in God, God does not lose value. God doesn't disappear. God doesn't, people can save up all their life and then something terrible happening with the stock market. It has happened before, and people lose everything that they've invested into that. That is not God. He's always there. He's always ready to help. He is investing in you just as much, if not more, than you're investing in him. And so where does your faith lie? And that, like you have wonderfully said already, for this reason, do not be worried about your life. So you have this contrast again that's flowing down in here. Do not have worry in your life as to what you will eat or what you will drink. Well, all right, we're getting into some more earthly, physical elements that Jesus is going to demonstrate as, by saying, do you not think that the Lord's going to take care of you? And so that leads us into, of course, everything else. But this really, I think, is about the mindset, the heart. Where is it going to be focused, which seems to be summed up in verses 33 and 34.
Yeah. In every life, we have some trouble. But when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy.
This is our song for the day, folks.
That's right. Open your hymn book to the Bobby McFerrin version. And so what he does is he follows it up with some illustrations. All right. So illustration number 1 is the birds. Look at the birds of the air. And his point is that he gets to at the end of this, the last line of that verse, last sentence of that verse, are you not of more value than they? So let's think about this. You're worried about, are you going to have food and clothing? But think about the birds of the air. God takes care of them, doesn't he? Well, of course he does. So are you not worth more in the sight of God than birds? God cares for the birds, and you're way above them on the scale. Now, birds aren't idle. He talks about they don't sow or they don't gather in barns, but they're not idle. They're not just sitting in their nest saying, well, I hope God drops a worm in my nest. They go out seeking food, and they build nests and all those kinds of things, but they're not worried. They do their thing. Going back to the illustration with Garrett and the tires, they do their thing, and then God takes care of the rest. And that's all God expects of us to do ourselves.
So then we come down to, so we've got, I'm trying to mark these as we go. So we've got the birds of the air as illustration number 1. That are not sow, that are not reap, nor gather into barns, that your heavenly Father feeds them. So, in other words, it seems like God's saying, or Jesus is saying, they don't do anything, and God's still taking care of them.
Yep.
They're just feeders. They're not providers. They're not cultivating their own situation. They live, and God takes care of them as they live. So a bird is never worried about what's coming. He's always on the lookout for what's coming, looking for that next meal, looking for that place to stay. And so there's really no attachment, no worry, no problem. They're just living and understand that the world that they live in is going to take care of them. And in our sense, we ought to be feeling that same way, understanding that same way, because we are worth much more than they are. So this is demonstrating God's great care for us, that he will always be taking care of us as to give us what we need. So, I'm sure that some would argue against that idea maybe, but the arguments possibly are going to be more of the things that we want over the things that we need. And God is providing the things that we need not necessarily just giving us all the things that we want. And so there's a great difference in that. So what's contrast number 2?
There's 4 of these illustrations, by the way. I don't think I said that to begin with. But the second one,
Or
the birds
illustration,
is the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, second one is, and there's a little bit of difficulty here in translation. The New American Standard and ESV approaches this as adding time to your lifespan or whatever. Some of the translations will have something like add a cubit to your stature, or I forget exactly how I'm trying to go way back in the time machine, remember the King James Version, but it's something like that. But it's about height. And it can be translated as either way, actually. But the point is the same, so it doesn't really matter whether you have the illustration here is lifespan or height. But in the ESV, he says, and which of you by being anxious can add a single hour to his span of life, or add a single hour to his life, is what the New American Standard has there. Either way, it's true, whether you're talking about height or whatever. By worrying, if I could make myself taller by worrying, I'd be in the NBA, because, I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that kept me out of the NBA was that I didn't turn out to be 6'10" like I wanted to be. So I'd probably had a hard time finding shoes, so that would have been bad. I don't know if they make up bibbed overalls for people 6'10", so that would have really been bad. But anyway, you can worry about it all day. You're not going to get taller, and you can worry about it all day, keeping in the translation that's on the screen there. You can worry about it all day, and you're not going to lengthen your life by your worry. So you're talking about a while ago, I get a diagnosis or whatever. Anything. I can go to the doctor, I can take the treatments, I can follow the plan the medical team gives me, I can do what I can do. But worrying about it is not going to affect it. In fact, I'm not a doctor, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I think you can pretty easily find some studies that will show that worry, not only does it not add hours to your life, worry shortens your life. So if you're worried about how long you're going to live, you're defeating the purpose and shaving off time by worrying about your life, because all you do is cause a lot more health problems that are going to. So again, the point is, why would you worry about things you have no control over? Trust God.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, the ASV, so the American Standard Version, says the measure of his life. I think you were going back to the King James. So there's a couple right there talking about the actual measurement there. So I'll say this, that I've never experienced this, but I have seen people experience this. And I want to say this in the right way, because I don't want this to seem, I just don't want to say it the wrong way. But I think for some people, it's easy to get so encapsulated in worry that they're almost comfortable in a state of worry. Does that make sense? Like that's where they want to be. And it's because they're just so, I don't want to say that it's become their God. I'm not saying that, but they're so connected to it that just becomes them. It becomes their life. And so everything, basically, like you said, they can't live. So if your life is filled with worry, you're not living. You're just being. And that's not a healthy place to be. My grandpa said there are some people, of course, he's probably over-exaggerating a little bit. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But he said there's some people in this world, they won't get in the car and drive to the store because they're so afraid that they'll get in a wreck. They won't go anywhere or do anything because they're so afraid something will happen. And we have seen this since COVID, that there are still people today, and if you're one of them, I'm not going to apologize for saying this. They're still so afraid that they're going to get sick that they're still not going anywhere, doing anything. We're not going to worship. We're not experiencing fellowship with the brethren. I mean, if you're going to live the rest of your life that way in solitude, some people can choose that life and that's their deal. But at some point, you have got to let go of what could happen and actually begin living like something good can happen. And if we allow that worry to just overcome us, then we're robbing ourselves of the good things that life has to offer. And we're not allowing God the opportunity to bless us in the wonderful ways that he can. So I'll kind of get off of that for now, but I just think that that's important, and calling it what it is, because we can become so involved in that worry that it becomes us, and if it becomes us, then that's a big problem. And a single measure or a single hour to our life, like you said, if our health is in crisis, our health is in crisis. You make the most of what you have. Yeah. And I think that it's a beautiful thing when somebody only has a short time to live that they make the most of it. But many of us, we have a long time to live, and we're so afraid of that last day that whenever we get to the end, we have forgotten to actually live our life.
Yeah. And someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying.
There's another song.
Yeah.
That's Tim McGraw, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember like when I was in school and Denny Petrillo was teaching us, this is probably not the exact numbers, but it's something like 40% of the time what we worry about is stuff that never happens.
Never happens.
Like 30% of the time it's stuff that has already happened. Or 70% of our worry is futile right off the bat.
It's made up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ain't got no place to lay your head. Somebody came and took your bed. Don't worry. Be happy.
All right, illustration number 3.
Illustration number 3 is verses 28 through 30, where he talks about the lilies of the field. So remember, he started off with this talking about you're worried about food or clothing. Well, he talked about the food with the birds. Now he's going to talk about the clothing with the lilies of the field. And it has a point just like the birds did, and it's the same point that he makes down in verse 30. You cut to the chase. If God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive, tomorrow is thrown in the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Why is worry a sin? Why is it such a big deal? It's because it's a faith problem. He is we've talked about this before 17 times in this sermon. Heavenly Father, your Father in heaven, he's your heavenly Father. And just, was it 2 areas above this? He just got through teaching us how to pray for our physical needs. Give us this day our daily bread. Do you trust him? Either quit praying or quit worrying. God expects us to be men and women of great faith. He expects us not to worry. It's a command. And as you said, there's people that they look for something to worry about. See? So this really is the kicker line here, is if you're worrying, you show you don't have faith. You can rock through this whole segment here and say, well, that's just who I am. I'm a worrier. But then Jesus slaps you in the face and says, no, you're just somebody that has puny faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the worry has become you because you have allowed it to become you.
That's right.
You weren't born that way. You
and
have
there's
cultivated
no other,
that.
And there's nothing else that we will accept that excuse with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I'm an adulterer. That's who I am. I'm a bank thief. That's just who I am. Every sin you can imagine, we would say, no, you need to repent and do better. Is it something that, like, if you're a drug addict, you're not just going to be able to say, all right, I'm going to quit using drugs. There's going to be a process that goes through that. If you are a habitual liar or gossiper, you're probably not going to cold turkey it, but there ought to be that sanctification process, not just accept, well, this is who I am, and not even try. And that's what I think we do with worry more than anything else, is we just say, that's who I am, and that's the excuse, and we don't even try.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like so many other things. It literally is an addiction. We become addicted to that mindset. We cultivate that within our mind. And, that I think that once again adds to the importance of what Paul writes in Romans 12, the transforming and renewing of our mind. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that are going into that text there, but the transformation of our mind, Philippians chapter 2, our mind is to be like his. We need to connect our mind to align with Jesus. But that takes us being able to say, I'm going to step away from all of this and I'm going to step towards you. Yeah. So, again, it goes back to this concept. Who are you going to allow to rule your life? Can anxiety or worry rule your life? Absolutely. Can drugs rule your life? Absolutely. Can pornography rule your life? Absolutely. Can adultery rule your life? Absolutely. Whatever sits in that chair in your heart is your God. It is what rules your life, and everything that you do in life is connected to the desire of whatever or whoever it is that sits in that chair. So what Jesus is getting at is, you need to really consider this. Who are you actually going to follow? And like you said, this statement here, you of little faith, he's not going to play around anymore. We're not going to sit here and baby your thoughts, baby your desires, baby your worry, baby what you continue to say to make excuses for yourself. We're not going to do that anymore. This is what you are. You're a person who has little faith. And I think there's so much power in our ability to just call it what it is and to stop messing around with it. And I think that's that is part of the strength that God supplies to us who are striving for truth and knowledge, and the transformation of our mind is to stop messing around with all this stuff and just simply call it what it is and deal with it and move on. So, these two statements, the question and the statement, are you not worth much more than they? This is a realization, like, wake up, understand who and what you are. And then you of little faith, we're just going to call it what it is. Worry is not the problem. Your faith is the problem.
That's right. Yeah, and we didn't say this at the beginning, I don't think, but we've been saying all these areas of righteousness. Not is our key word that's showing us we're moving on to another one. So verse 25, you've got it highlighted on the screen there. Do not be worried about your life. Well, he's going to repeat that in this one. Verse 31, do not worry. And then in verse 34, he's going to say again, do not worry. Okay? So all of this is the same section. He's saying the not 3 times, but it's about the same thing. So 31 and 32 is our fourth illustration to not worry, but he gives us, again, that main idea of this particular section, again, do not worry. And then illustration 4 is the Gentiles, or your translation may have heathen. I don't know that Jesus would have called them heathen, and probably Gentiles is really the idea of what he's talking about here. But the Gentiles is the illustration that he's using. He's primarily talking to Jewish people as he's preaching and teaching, and Matthew's gospel is aimed at Jewish people to try to prove to them that Jesus is the promised Messiah. So think about it from that perspective. You should know better than they do, Jews. It's one thing for the Gentile world who hasn't had the revelation of God's word like you have. And even beyond that, it's one thing for the Gentile world that hasn't maybe had the actual experience of God providing. Think about all of your history from, the pyramids, from the plagues in Egypt, all the way up to this point, what all God has done for you. You should know better than the Gentiles, but you're putting yourself on par with them when you worry. It's one thing, like we'll say it this way in a modern day setting. It's one thing when the world acts like the world. It's another thing when the church acts like the world. You expect the world to act like the world. You don't expect followers of Jesus to act like the world. Does that make sense? That's kind of what Jesus is saying here, is that it's one thing for the Gentile world to act like this. It's another thing when you are, and you're supposed to know that God is your Father in heaven, that he just think I lost you.
No, I'm here.
No, there you go. There you go. All right. So anyway, you're putting yourself on par with the Gentile world. The bottom line is your heavenly Father knows what you need already. The reason we pray to him is not to inform him of what he knows. He already knows. It's not like you pray, give us this day our daily bread, and God said, oh, I forgot to give him our daily bread.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we are relying on him, but that we can trust in him. Because every day, what does he do? He provides us our daily bread. Like you said a while ago, it may not be what I want. It may not be filet mignon and a baked potato and strawberry cheesecake or banana pudding or what, it may be bread, but I had peanut butter and crackers this morning, maybe peanut butter and crackers, but he's provided. So live like that. Don't live like the world. Live like people that are in a relationship with the Lord. And so if you look back to what he's been saying here, he's taught us three big lessons here. Number one, from verse 27, worry is unproductive. From verse 30, worry is unnecessary. And now verse 32, worry is unbecoming. If you're in the Army and you get dishonorably discharged for conduct unbecoming of a whatever, you're not acting like a soldier should act. That's what he's telling them here, is that you're not acting like a child of God should act. This is conduct unbecoming of a follower of Jesus. So it's unproductive, it's unnecessary, it's unbecoming. Why would you waste your time with it?
Yeah. Well, you take this further into the New Testament about the teachings of what we are, who we are. Peter calls us a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession. Jesus commissioned the apostles, and of course, this would also apply, I think, to us to go into the world and make disciples. So there's a call to do something. You have what we've already looked at earlier. We're to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth. But then Paul says something, in Ephesians chapter 3 about what the church is doing. The church is making known the great things, the blessings that making known the gospel, the message, the mystery, not only to the earth, but also to the heavenly beings. So all spiritual realm, all physical realm, the message of Christ, the gospel, the redemptive work that we have seen from Genesis chapter 12, probably even before that, but onward, the promises, the purposes, the prophecies that have all been made about this mystery are now being made known, and they're being made known through the church. Well, the church is made up of God's people, and God's people are called to do and live and walk in a certain way. And so the walk of a Christian, the walk of a disciple, is a lifestyle. And a lifestyle is dictated by the mind of that individual. Therefore, James writes about the ship and the udder. He writes about the horse and the bit. And we can, if we're not careful, be so focused on the rudder and the bit that we forget what's controlling the rudder and the bit. And that is the mind of the one who's behind the wheel or holding the reins. So all of this boils back down to Jesus wants us to understand the type of people we ought to be, and that is faithful people. And faith is what drives, faith is what moves, faith is what conquers, faith is what knocks down buildings, faith is what moves a person into a foreign land, faith is what builds a boat and gets on a boat, faith is what goes to the cross, faith is what goes to their death, faith is what leads you through everything. If we abandon our faith, then what good are we? I mean, how many times, you of little faith, and we look at the church, the 7 churches of Asia, all the things that they're doing, whether it's good or whether it's bad, is dictated by the faith that they have. And so this is a big thing for us to consider. Are you going to allow the worry of life to rule your heart, or the faith, or our faith in God to rule your walk? So, like you said, why in the world are you on par with everybody else? Because your Heavenly Father knows all that you need. So all these things, He knows that you need them. He provides for them. Don't be like everybody else. And like you said, that's a huge charge, a really big charge.
Yeah. So the landlord says your rent is late. He might have to litigate. But don't worry. Be happy.
How do you not worry about that?
Well, he tells
Pay your
you.
rent. Oh, man.
Did I lose you?
No,
There
you're
are.
back here. Yeah, you've been cutting out a little bit.
I'm sorry. So you've got the contrast there, but instead, here's what you do. But, or whatever your translation might say there, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow be anxious about itself. So no matter what the culture, the time, the place, seek first His kingdom, His rule, His authority, doing His will. Seek first His righteousness, what He says is right, not the world. Unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of scribes and Pharisees, you'll not enter in the kingdom of heaven. So you got to seek first His kingdom and seek first His righteousness. And if I get so wrapped up, as you're talking about, in stuff, then I don't have time for Him. But notice He didn't tell you what to put in second place. He just says, seek first the kingdom of heaven and His righteousness. So what comes in second place? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you put in second place. If seeking first His kingdom, if seeking His kingdom and His righteousness is in first place, then whatever you put in second place will be fine. Mm-hmm. As long as He has first place. That's all. If God is your number one priority, then priority number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, is going to take care of itself. Mm-hmm. So again, he repeats the thesis of this section in verse 34. Don't be anxious. Don't worry about tomorrow. Make the choice that I'm not going to be that guy. Why would you bring tomorrow's trouble in today's trouble? You got enough on your plate today, and you don't even know what tomorrow's going to be like anyway. It may be awesome. So don't worry about tomorrow. Just focus on what you can't do anything about what's happening tomorrow, because you don't know if you're going to make it to tomorrow. Yeah. And you can't go back in time, so why would you worry about what happened yesterday? Just focus on what's on your plate today, and don't worry. Be happy.
Mm-hmm. So he has these two things here. His righteousness. So His righteousness seems to connect back to all of the acts of righteousness that have already been recorded here. So again, going back to that thesis in chapter 5 and verse 20, you have alms, praying, fasting, the proper use of material things. So seeking His righteousness and all those things, when these things are handled in the right way, we're allowing we are following the righteousness of God. And so that takes us back to that key verse of chapter 5 and verse 20. So the meaning of this seems to be seek first the rule of God in your life, the rule of Christ in your life in this sense, in our sense, what we're talking about. Here contextually, it's going to be, of course, God. And when we do the things that He wants, we're going to be provided the things that we need in the meantime. So do the righteousness of God. and don't do the things that man does. Do things God's way. But then you have all these things. Well, what are all these things in referencing? Is what we just talked about. It's food, it's clothing, and shelter. These are the things that are going to be added to you. God is going to take care of all the necessities of life. And so we've got to remember that, general principle that he is sharing with us. God has given this world, he's given us as his people great blessings. They're going to continue to rain down on us. And remember, that sometimes the things that happen to the righteous are the same things that can happen to the wicked. That's just the way that life goes. But when we live God's way, God is going to take care of us either way, but understand that we've got to be faithful in that understanding as we move forward throughout our life. But, I've said this before, that these two verses here, along with Colossians 3:1-2, are two sets of texts that I have shared with so many people during their times of struggle, because I really believe that both of them help us to place our mindset in the right arena. Set your mind on things above, not on things that are on the earth, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. So do not worry. Do not be anxious about tomorrow. It's going to take care of itself. Every day has enough trouble of its own. So do you have something coming up in your life? Do you have a surgery? Do you have a payment? Do you have, whatever that might be for you? You have something coming up. Retirement. Are you going to think about those things? Sure. This isn't saying don't plan for the future. It's saying don't worry about all the things that tomorrow could bring, because right here in the now is where we have got to live. Right here in the right now is what we have got to take care of. And so if we're always looking to tomorrow, we won't live today. And that's a major problem. And there are a lot of people, I've experienced it, I'm sure you have experienced it, you as a listener have probably experienced it, that you have been so focused on what's coming in the future, there comes a day in your life that you look back and you're like, where did the time go?
Yeah.
I missed it. And when we allow worry to take over our life, and like I said, I'm not exempt from this. When you allow worry to take over your life, you look back over the last few years and you're like, what happened? And you miss all of the good things. So illustrate it like this. Your kids are growing up. Money's tight. Bills are coming, all that stuff. You're trying to work to provide for your family. And that's always what's on your mind. Day after day after day after day. Am I going to hit the next bill? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And we worry about that so much that 5 years goes by and the days of your children being little and wanting to play with you, and what you look back and you've missed it.
Yeah.
That's a sad situation that so many people have faced because they have missed the good things in life. So if we will put our focus where it needs to be, just focus on today. Be the father you need to be the mother you need to be the Christian you need to be the worker you need to be whoever it is that you need to be today. Worry about today. You can plan for the things that are coming up. That's fine. Be a good steward of that. But put your mind where you are. I had a foreman that always told us when I was doing line work, keep your head where your hands are at. Know where you are, know what you're doing, know where everything is. Well, the same idea applies here. Know where everything's at right here. Because if you don't pay attention to that, it'll be gone and you'll never get it back.
Yep. And that's the main thing. Just do what you can do and then leave the rest to God. Ain't got no cash, ain't got no style, ain't got no guy to make you smile. Don't worry. Be happy.
Are you really doing this from memory, or did you pull this up?
Dude, I learned that song when I was like 14 years old.
I know the song, but I can't. I'm pretty sure I have that song on my phone, but I don't think that I could quote. You are the mastermind of quoting songs. We give you that trophy.
Yeah. I don't have many talents, but that's one of them.
That is the one you've been
when
blessed.
you worry, your face will frown. And when you frown, you bring everybody down. So don't worry. Be happy.
Well, this is
be happy
anybody who's planning on being at the Excel Still More Bible Workshop, Corey will be here, and he has a few lessons he'll be giving. So we don't know what we're going to experience, but whatever it'll be a lot of fun.
That's right.
Every lesson will have a song associated, and it'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just the way, I don't know, the way my mind works is I've always said if somebody would put the entire Bible to music, I would have the whole Bible memorized. But I can remember lyrics, and when I'm working on a sermon, something will pop in my head, and it may or may not be like a traditional church song, but in my head, I'm playing that over and over and over, you know. And it also reminds me how many what we would call secular songs, if you look at it the right way, has a pretty good biblical message, depending on how you look at it. But anyway.
And there are some that have a weird message that nobody really understands.
That's exactly right.
Oh man! Well, we're so appreciative of everybody who's joined us today. We're glad that we've been able to hop back on here, and glad that Corey, you were able to do this today as you're getting over not feeling well, and we're just thankful that we can do this study together. I as I say every week, I grow so much from our studies and thinking about this with you.
Me too.
And we really hope that you who are tuning in whatever way, shape, or form, that you're growing and that this is helping you, encouraging you, and challenging you within your own life to walk daily with God, to make His life your lifestyle, and walk with Him each and every day. Our goal really is to be like Jesus, and the reward of that is heaven. And so this is a good path to go down. So we're grateful that you have joined us today, and we just thank you for helping this podcast to grow, and we hope that you will, if you have not done it yet, like, share, follow, and subscribe, not only to this podcast, but all of the others on the Excel Pod Network. And so we are going to do our best to be here again next week. I'll actually be out of town, but I should be able to record. So I'll be on my laptop, be a little bit different setup, probably on the porch, but I'm looking forward to being back with you. And we will be looking at the next topic, which is going to be judging in Matthew chapter 7.
The world's favorite Bible verse.
The world's favorite Bible verse. Do not judge so that you will not be judged. What does it mean? Yeah. We're going to find out next week. Unless you study it, and then you may know it before. But if you don't, you'll find out next week. So until next time, we hope that the Lord will continue to bless you in all that you do. We're grateful for you. And until next episode, stay untied.
Don't